This call is being recorded.
Hey everyone, it's another episode of the holiday chat series for 2018. Today I'm joined by Roger, who joins us from Alberta, Canada. And Roger contacted me because he's in the initial stages of looking at maybe purchasing a business. Roger, why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself so we can have an idea of who you are, what kind of situation you are in with family and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I am a father of two kids. Both of my kids were currently I live in Alberta, but my kids were born in the States, in South Carolina, where I lived for about 15 years before I moved up here.
Okay.
Down there, I had a business for about 10 years. I sold it right before I came. It was a taxi and limousine business.
Okay.
And, I was kind of my timing. It wasn't my. It just happened like that I sold it right before Uber came in town in the place.
Oh wow! Oh
Where
wow!
yeah, it was just
It could have been bad for you.
yeah, because all the business, it would have been worth the assets or less.
Yeah.
So yeah, because it killed the business. But yeah, this is, I guess, progress. And up here now I'm employed. So there was a kind of a big change after so long being my own boss, sort of speak. When and I got a job at one of the big courier companies at FedEx. By the way, I watched that video of you with FedEx routes.
Yeah.
I had that in mind too, and yeah, you were right on point on point with that. It was yeah, it's tough for those guys. I mean, now it's working because the business is expanding a lot. Like FedEx Ground, actually, it's bringing more revenue for FedEx than the other division, FedEx Express. But yeah, so yeah, this is what I've been doing. This is what I'm doing right now. I'm working for these guys, but I'm not a happy camper, and I'm looking to get back to
your own thing.
Entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Roger, not many people sell a business and then become an employee. Like a lot of people who have their own business, they really like having their own business and they might move on to something else. So what was it, the job at FedEx that brought you to Alberta, or was it some other reason?
No, my wife's job brought us up here. So I I just I wasn't ready to start, in an unknown city, unknown province, country. Well, it's Canada and US are very similar as far as business environment and how things are done. So it's not. It wasn't like I moved in on a. But I had to. Yeah, I couldn't just stay around and try to figure out. What to do. So I said, I'm just gonna take a job and go from there. I was actually, I thought about buying maybe some routes from FedEx and stuff, but it's yeah, I did the math so many times and it just didn't. It's not for me. It's not. I don't see how. Because the prices that they are the guys that are selling are the prices they are asked for. They're just way up there.
Well, they want you to pay them for all the hard work they did over the last few years.
Yeah, and I mean, if it, the only problem, like you said in the video, you only have one customer, and if you piss off that customer, then you're done.
Yeah.
They sign those contracts every year. So yeah, if I mean, you have to do some really bad things for them not to sign the contract with you again, but still, it's yeah. If God forbid you have a bad accident or something, one of you guys screws up bad, and yeah, they can just next year they can just say, hey, we don't want to sign with you anymore, and there is not not a law in Canada or in the world to stop them doing that. So yeah.
What kind of business are you thinking about buying now?
So it's a little similar with what I've done down there, but with a kind of a twist. So it's a transportation company that caters to seniors mostly,
Okay.
and people with disabilities,
Okay.
like wheelchair, kind of a non-emerging, I mean, non-emergency transportation type. Um, it's ran by a lady, a baby boomer.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a stereotype, baby boomer retiring and stuff. So yeah, it's actually this is the case here too. She started this business in 2008.
Okay.
Actually, it's a franchise. Actually, it's not. So she started with. She bought the franchise back in 2008, and she expanded the territory after a few years. So she bought two territories from these guys, and now she's at the point where she's ready to slow down and to enjoy a full retirement.
So you're,
Yeah,
you're going to have to tell me a little bit about the environment that this business operates in, because I'll tell you, I've been to different places, and the way it is where I live might be different from where it is there. Now, where I live, there are some private companies that will, basically be like a taxi service for people in wheelchairs and stuff, and they'll go and take them to appointments and things like this. And they're more expensive than taxis because the vehicles are more expensive, et cetera. But then there's also um, a wheelchair bus that is part of the public transit system that people can reserve, and they kind of call in and say where they want to go, and they might be told, we can take you there, but you're going to have to go 45 minutes early, or we can take you there but not on that day. And so that's much cheaper, but they can't always get the service they want. And then, of course, what I'm noticing with the public transit service is that they're now getting these newer buses, which kind of lean down and they're more accessible to people in wheelchairs. And so your more active and fit people who happen to be in a wheelchair are better able to just use the regular bus routes. And then, of course, there's people who will help out their neighbors and friends and family for free. So what is the landscape for disability transport there in your community?
this is exactly what the setup that we have here.
Okay.
We have transit that basically they take you wherever you need to go for the price of the bus ticket, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a A to B, so point A to point B transportation. So yeah, you don't curb to curb. Yeah, better than the regular bus. You just have to have a low income, and to it's a you have to qualify for this type of service. So not
Okay.
everybody can use it unless, like I said, and for people with disabilities, I think they can use it regardless of their income. But for seniors, they have to be under a certain threshold. And there is also a free service run by a nonprofit, also for people with for seniors actually with low income, same thing they qualify. So and then we have this for-profit companies that they cater for people that they can afford to pay for a extra service or more. This is where this company goes into. They proud themselves as being like the top of the line kind of. I don't want to use the word luxury because it's not really, I mean, luxury transportation, but they target the more affluent segment of the senior population. And now it seems from what I understood that the wheelchair transportation started to take off, and they have quite a few from what she says contracts with a couple of hospitals and other medical facilities. So in this 10 years,
that's interesting. So a hospital or a medical clinic is hiring them to pick up and deliver patients. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what they said. Yeah, I haven't got into, like I said, I'm really into the beginning of actually tomorrow I'm talking with it will be my first conversation with the lady that sells it. I just had a few conversations with the broker that she hired to sell, and just because of the nature of the business, they are trying to before they disclose all the financials and all that, they are trying to make sure whoever gets the company, whoever buys it, it's a good fit for the for this type of because this is more like a social business. It's not something that you're gonna get super rich out of it. It's more so
what kind of What kind of equipment are they operating?
They have a couple of wheelchair vans and four SUVs.
Okay, so it's private transportation in that it's not like a bus that would pick up many passengers in one place. Okay.
No, just exactly. Well, it will be one-to-one. They will not do like a group transportation or.
Okay. And so, how would the fare charged compare with the taxi cab?
They charge hourly. So, because what they say, it's actually that's how they're not even listed as a transportation company with the government, the provincial government, and all that. They are listed as a companionship service. So they charge.
It's more like a car service to the airport rather than a taxi. Like it's
and
more expensive, fancier, but nicer usually.
In person, yeah, the stuff. The transportation part, it's actually it's important, but it takes let's say if the stuff spends a couple of hours with the person, the ride might be 20 minutes or something like that. If they go to a medical appointment, they go inside, they make sure they get all the papers, all the paperwork ready. they even help them get dressed or put the shoes on and stuff like that.
Okay.
They take them all the way into the, if we use this example, going to a medical appointment, they take them all the way into to the doctor's office. They depends on the case. They might even have agreement with their next in kin to handle medical paperwork for them and stuff like that.
So these drivers are more than chauffeurs; they're like home care workers.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, yes. Yeah. Same thing with groceries. You know, if they go, they're gonna go put the groceries in the fridge, in the pantry. Yeah, they're gonna hang out for, and all these guys, they are also retirees, and they're just looking for something, you know, to kind of give back to the community and make an extra dollar on while they are doing it, you know. So they are not like your typical, you know, taxi driver that needs to feed, you know, his family out of this income, and they're just guys. One of them is a teacher, retired teacher. Some, you know, guys that they are just looking to do something useful with their time in retirement, basically.
So is that because they might work for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon? Like, is it an inconsistent work day?
It seems like it is the way the setup is right now. They get a flat fee for the day,
Okay.
regardless of how much they work. From what I understood, it used to be a kind of a per visit slash per trip fee that they were paid with, and a couple of years ago they switched to this flat daily fee. So they basically get the vehicle in the morning and they go out and about um, with their customers. And I'm not really sure what they do between. I guess they just
Find
hang
it
out.
Tim Hortons.
Yeah, kind of go to
Yeah.
the library. Yeah, stuff like that.
So is now I understand you haven't seen the financial statements or anything for this business, but they must have told you some ballpark things that were listed on the website. So do you know what the annual sales approximately would be for this business?
Yeah, just around the quarter million, just around 250,000.
Okay.
Yeah, from the math that I made, you know, they pay $95 per day for these guys, and I think there are five of them.
Okay. And
Uh,
and is there any public money involved in this business? Like, is there any kind of government subsidy or anything?
That's a
Or
very good question, and actually, I just sent a list of questions for the lady. Whatever question the broker couldn't answer me, and I had this question for her too: if there are any grants. I feel like there are not,
mm-hmm.
but there would be something that I'm just gonna find out tomorrow. But I think there are no public money. I'm not sure if there are any grants available or not. I from a quick search that I did on internet, I found a few that, but I'm not sure if this business will qualify for, you know, because it's not a
Well, I
non-profit.
was just the reason why I was asking is I was wondering if it sounds like they have a fixed cost structure. If they're giving these drivers $95 a day, regardless of the number of drives they're doing, then of course, if the calls were reduced, they would very quickly be in a bad position,
Yeah.
right? And so I was wondering if maybe because it's a service to disabled people and seniors, if maybe there wasn't some kind of like maybe the government wasn't paying part of their wages or something like that. Um, and of course, this kind of thing would vary from province to province and state to state. So it would be one of the questions I would want to figure out, because if it was the case that there was some kind of government money involved in the business, then it would be something that would really have to be investigated carefully, because the success of the business would be dependent probably on that program carrying on.
Yeah.
Um, what do the people pay if my elderly father were going to get picked up, taken to an appointment, and then driven home over an hour and a half? What would they charge him?
They charge between 35 and 55, $60 an hour. I'm not sure if they go on like individual cases and stuff like that, if they kind of negotiate with the people and stuff, or if they have I just have this range between 35 and 50.
Okay. And so, given the fact that the total revenue of the business is quite small, you said about $250,000. Um, does the owner participate in driving any of the vehicles?
I asked the broker, and she does. I understood that there were some requests from parents too, to like kind of give rights to kids to after school activities and stuff like that. So she does that with a couple of kids, so kind of part time. But she's
Okay.
more she's doing the scheduling, and so she's kind of she doesn't drive that much, but she kind of manages the. So
Hmm.
she's active in the business, and I asked if she, because this the staff is not employed, is contract for service,
Hmm.
and asked the broker how many employees then the business has. So I think the only employee is the lady, the owner, and she doesn't draw salary. She just draws like a kind of a. So let me rephrase it. She doesn't draw living, salary. She just a nominal, like I don't know, a couple of thousand or something a month, just a flat fee. So, which is not a living salary. In,
Yeah,
in
for this business, a whole bunch of things. Okay, so and let me just make a note here, because I don't want to forget some of them. Um, so, number one, uh, the status of the drivers. So, if the drivers are contractors, which they may be, then the question comes down to what happens if a driver is helping a client and something happens and the client falls and gets hurt, right?
yeah, they have some kind of insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Beside the vehicle,
Okay.
insurance, they,
So
they they have some kind of a business, because that's liability in this type of business. It's pretty big.
right. So they have liability insurance to protect the customers, and that's pretty straightforward. You go to an insurance broker and explain your business and they'll sell you
Mhm.
insurance.
Yeah, yeah.
But now if I'm trying to help somebody up out of a wheelchair and I hurt my back and I'm a contractor, then you're starting to talk about workplace health and safety, which employees are normally covered by provincial workplace
WCP.
plans,
Yeah,
right?
worker compensation, yeah.
Workers'
Work, work,
compensation.
worksman compensation, yeah.
So then the question would be, if these guys are contractors, are they mandated to have their own workers' comp files so that they're paying for that coverage themselves? Because if my job is to go every day and drive this car, and I'm told to show up Monday to Friday, and I get paid every, and I get hurt, one of the first things that a good lawyer is going to do is he's going to challenge the idea that the person is a contractor.
Yeah, that's what I asked the broker too, because this has been a huge problem for different, even big companies all over North America. The status of employee versus contractor, and yeah, if you that's what I asked him. I said, if you send these people and kind of not order them, but kind of scheduling their day and stuff like that, yeah, it feels like they're more employees than contractors.
Yeah, the rule comes here. Here are some of the things they look at when they're trying to determine if there's a legal problem. Is they'll say, who controls your schedule? So if you think about this, if you hire a guy to replace the shingles on the roof of your house, you can request that he does it on a certain day, but he's the one who decides when he comes, right?
Right. And how long the whole?
And if it's rainy or windy, he's going to tell you, I'm not doing it today.
Right.
Right? It's not safe. So there's no question that the roofing guy is a contractor. The other measure is how many masters do you serve. So the roofing guy, he's going to come and help me one time in 10 years, right? And then he's going to go work for somebody else. So he's got many masters. So that definitely makes him a contractor as well. But these drivers, their day is being scheduled by the owner of this business, and they serve one master. And the other measure is who owns the capital equipment in the business. So if I hire the roofer and he shows up here with maybe like a trailer to empty all the extra shingles off the old shingles off my roof, he owns the tools and equipment of his trade, which again makes him look like a contractor, right? Because he's in business for himself and he's got his own equipment. But these drivers are being provided with vehicles that belong to the company. So it's the company that has made the capital investment, not them. So again, that would be another thing. And I'm not a lawyer, and you this is definitely something you would want to talk to a lawyer about. But it would raise a cloud around the whole idea that they're contractors versus employees. And if a lawyer did say that there could be some confusion, then the lawyer could probably suggest some ways to protect yourself.
Right. I feel that, in this particular case, the company being relatively small, and I mean not relatively, really small, and it was kind of a mutual non-verbal understanding that we just help. We're just trying to help some person, stuff like that. But yeah, if you get to a point where you want to acquire this company like I do, and if you want to expand the business and stuff, you can just rely on this friendship between the owner and the guys that are helping with the work and stuff like that.
Right. And so these little businesses tend to have certain informal things going on. And this would be one of them. And it's definitely something that you would have to have a very strong understanding of what your position is. And if it meant that if you bought the business, if you would have to make those people your employees just to be sure that you're covered by the workman's comp, then what it would mean is you would have to rewrite the financial statements of the business to recognize the true costs, because subcontractors, they're going to be invoicing her, and they may or may not be charging GST, right?
Right.
And depending on the size, how big they are, and if you are employing them, then there's going to be payroll taxes like EI and CPP and stuff that are going to have to be deducted, and it could change the cost structure for you if you made them employees. The other big thing that would have to be investigated is the status of the vehicles. So if she bought them and she borrowed money, for example, when you pay a loan, there's two parts of that loan payment. Part of it is the interest that the bank is charging you, and the other part is the principal amount, repaying what you borrowed, right? The interest is a business expense, and it causes your profit to go down and reduces your tax burden. But the principal amount is actually part of your profit. It's not an expense. And so you have to pay tax on that because you borrowed the money tax-free, and that means it goes back into the bank without any tax consequence as well. So if you have $1,000 profit and you have to pay back the bank $1,000 because you borrowed it from them, you have the cash, but guess what? You have $1,000 profit. You owe the government income tax on that money, but you just gave it to the bank.
I think, yeah, they said that out of the 6 vehicles, four are paid off.
Mm-hmm.
And the two newer ones, a couple of years old, 2017, I think, or 2016 models, they are they want to lease them, so they're not buying them. They're just leasing them.
So when they lease them, the entire lease payment, the lease payment is more tax efficient, right? But now here's the question: is the older vehicles, if she's only making enough money to pay herself a couple $1,000s a month, it means that there's likely not money being set aside in a reserve to replace the aging vehicles.
Yeah, they were. The broker said something that she was getting ready to replace some of them, but then go to the lease option instead of buying them.
So when you buy this business, and this is a tricky thing. I made a YouTube video about this, about recognizing capital cost for equipment. And this business has significant capital equipment because it uses vehicles.
Right.
When you look at the income statement, they're going to show you some form of cash flow. It's called seller's discretionary earnings, usually. And the SDE is what they do is they add back the interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. So that cash flow figure they're going to show you, out of that number, you need to pay yourself a salary, pay any loans that you take on to buy the business. But because depreciation and amortization have been added back, there's no recognition for wearing out the equipment. And what I would do if I was sitting beside you when we looked at this is I would look at the profit and loss statement, the income statement, and I would actually add in a leasing expense for every vehicle in the fleet. I would say let's assume we were leasing 6 vehicles here.
Right.
Because using a lease,
the true cost of
monthly. The leasing company, in their calculation of what they're going to charge you, they're taking into account the wearing out of the vehicle and you're paying for the amount of the vehicle that you consume while you're using it. And so it's a really simple way to get a true figure for what it really costs to own that vehicle, to keep it on the road, right? The insurance, the gas, all that stuff, the repairs, they're all going to be already on her expense list. But the capital value that's being consumed in those vehicles as they wear out is probably, it will not be properly represented there. And so the fact that she's replacing vehicles and she's moving from an ownership model to a leasing model is probably because over the course of time, she's had this problem. She's had depreciation, but over time, the depreciation expense goes down because we depreciate vehicles on a 20% declining balance. So in the first year, she probably enjoyed a very low profit, very low tax bill because she bought a bunch of vehicles. But her bank payments were probably over 5 years, let's say. By the time she got to year 4, her depreciation expense would be very low, which means that her profit on paper would have been higher and her tax bills would have been higher, but the bank payment still would have been the same. So she probably would have been pinched in a cash flow way.
So leasing will even out on
leasing will solve that problem. My concern for you, though, is that once you put in those expenses, you may find that the business doesn't really make any money.
Yeah, the only reason I was looking to this sector for a couple of years, just trying to figure out how it works, and I just saw this business up for sale a couple of months ago, and the reason that kind of I contact them and he raised my interest is the alleged, so to speak, contacts that they have into the medical world and their experience with the customers in these past 10 years. Because I didn't get too many numbers yet because we're still in the process of them trying to make sure I'm a legit guy, kind of. But I feel like I was very excited in the beginning, but I start to have the feeling that she wants to. Like I said, I don't have a figure yet, but from what the broker said, I feel like she will want way too much money for the business, and like you said, I don't think it's making enough money to be like. I think the asking price will be so high that everything, my offer will be taken as a almost as an affront.
Well, here are the positives. Okay, number one, you understand transportation.
Yes.
You used to own a taxi and limo service. You now work for FedEx. So, I mean, you understand the true costs of making machines roll, having to replace tires, maintenance, repair, all that kind of stuff, right? So you understand what the costs are. And you have experience. So I would definitely say you want to take a look at this, but you need to apply that experience when you look at the numbers. And at the end of the day, even if it is making money, um, you need to figure out if there's enough wiggle room there in case something happens, right? If sales go down 5%, is that going to wipe out all the profit, for instance? The structure that you described to me where they pay the drivers a flat daily fee, to me that's a little worrisome because it does mean that your overhead is fixed.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like at some point they I guess they weren't busy enough or something, and she came up with this kind of um, kind of idea to. This is just my speculation. That just to make them happy enough. She said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna pay you a flat fee, and we'll go from there." But yeah, if the sales, so to speak, they like you said, they go down 5-10%, and yeah, the whole profit might be in question.
But the customer base is kind of interesting because the first question I would always ask is, what, if anything else, could be sold to the same group of people? And so I would be curious when you meet with them tomorrow is find out where most of the people live. Are these people still living independently in their own homes? Or are they mostly living in, for example, seniors housing of some kind, like nursing home or seniors apartments? Because if you had an opportunity to expand to not only being offering the transportation, but maybe also offering other services around the home, like lawn mowing or snow removal or things like this, it could be possible to leverage this client base um, through different offerings to grow this into something. But just keep in mind that really the price you pay is based on what you get. Any kind of opportunity to grow simply gives you the reason why you want to buy it. It doesn't mean you should pay any more.
That's the. This is how I started to look at this sector. I started to look. Okay, well, I want to start a business. What do I do? What do I know? What are what is my skills? My skill sets. What sector it's growing, and everywhere I looked, the the statistics. Everybody throws statistics at you regarding the aging population.
Mm-hmm.
How many, in 10 years there will be more people over 65 than people under 18 and stuff like that. So yeah, for this sector, the statistics, they are good, so to speak. And
they're good, but here's the problem I see with this business is that even though demand could be going up, I think that there will always be a growth in substitution. So here's what I mean is as the population becomes older, those people that are getting older, they're voters, and they're going to complain to the city, hey, we're older, we're having a hard time getting around. We want you to make improvements to transit. We want you to make improvements to this and that. And they'll be able to convince cities, to make bus service better and more accessible and things like this. And there's also the fact that there are people that will help people in this way for free. My mother, when I was a teenager, you know, me and my sister didn't need her as much, but she was still a stay-at-home mom. And what she started to do is she started to volunteer through her church, and she was doing exactly what this business does. She had 3 or 4 elderly ladies, and she would go and pick them up at their place and take them to the grocery store, and then take them home and put their groceries away. And she did it in her own car. My mom paid for the paid for the gas, and did it for free to be helpful, just to help out
Usually
people.
up here, yeah, the church in this case would pay will help pay for the gas. So yeah, we have a couple of non-profits like that, and
Mhm.
they actually pay you for gas. So you are just using, your car, put miles on it and your time, but you get a
Yeah.
little. But regardless, it's still free. You just get a little bit of money for.
And
Uh,
so even though demand could be growing for this business, the it's hard to compete with free, right?
True.
So I think that the pricing, what kind of margins will you be able to get? I think that there will be limits on that. You know, the because people will say, well, you know what, I'm having trouble getting around, but I'm not having that much trouble. Maybe I can take a cab, or something like this. And so that would be a challenge, I think. But I'm sure you've thought this through. I mean, what do you see as some of the risks in this business?
that's the yeah, definitely the competition, for lack of a better word, from the various levels of government.
Mhm.
Most, I guess, municipal government in my case here, uh, it's there, and yeah, like you said, the aging population, they are usually really involved into politics and calling the 311 number to complain and to make suggestions and stuff like that. Um,
Well, hey, wait a second though. We talked about substitutions, but let's actually talk about direct competition. Are there other businesses in the city doing the exact same thing?
there are a couple of other businesses, yeah, for-profit businesses,
Hmm.
and these guys, they kind of go for the most affluent people in town, kind of.
Hmm.
And then they said that the other two are for like kind of the medium,
Okay.
the
So we're talking and
income, and then you have the low income that qualifies for free or subsidized transportation from the local government.
okay. So how many people are there in the metro area? Like a million?
Yeah,
Okay. So you
yeah,
got a million people.
just a little over a million. Yeah.
Okay. So in a market of a million people, the car service catering to affluent seniors who need help getting around, basically that part of the market is served by 6 vehicles,
Yes.
right? But this is important because it gives you insight. It gives you perspective on how big the opportunity is. Because really the opportunity is quite small. And so
Yeah,
I know you
they're
have this.
yeah, one of their main things that they keep saying is that the business is ready for expansion, and but I guess everybody says that when they try to sell something. and there is a need for, especially on the wheelchair side, there is a need for at least a couple more vehicles.
But now this can be quantified, right? So when they say that to you, your response would be, how many requests for service did you have in the last month for wheelchair transportation that you had to turn down?
That you couldn't cover it, yeah.
Right? That you couldn't satisfy. Because it's easy for them to say, we think we can keep another vehicle busy, but if they're actually telling people, no, we can't help you, we're too busy, then that's your real data point. How many people have called that we can't help? And then if they have that information and it's documented, if they have some kind of call log, then to me that spells that there's really opportunity there to grow.
Yeah, the way I see this going down right now, it will be like I said, I think they will way overvaluate the business just because of the emotional part that she's been doing this for 10 years. This is her baby and stuff like that, which everybody can understand. And it's a very sensitive business also. And so I feel like I'm just trying to get her insight, kind of, and kind of learn from this process, and maybe I'll. I think it's a higher chance that I will end up doing something by myself. Plus, this is a franchise too, so there are limitations there too. And from what I've seen, the franchise, I mean, the name, it's yeah, kind of known, but they don't offer any support beside the name.
Yeah.
So it's not. They offer some limited, very limited marketing support. I guess they just send you a few templates of flyers that you can print out, something like that. So I haven't gone there yet, but from what I've seen, so yeah, you're just paying for the name. That's, yeah, people heard about it, I guess, and but it's not, Tim Horton name or McDonald's name or.
Well, how about this, Roger? Why don't we do this? Why don't you email me when you have the meeting and after the meeting, and why don't we hop back on just for 10 or 15 minutes, and you can tell me how it went.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Sounds like a plan.
All right.